So a bit of an interesting development took place over the last few weeks as an NES emulator dubbed Nesbox initially passed certification and was approved for release on Xbox One before Microsoft pulled the plug. Killjoys. On two levels, this really would have been nothing new. For one thing, Xbox and emulation have been nearly synonymous almost since the legacy Xbox system launched way back in 2001, as emulating vintage hardware has been a favorite pastime for hardware modders all along, and the legacy Xbox was ripe for the picking for such purposes as it introduced the concept of an internal hard drive as standard equipment on game consoles. Furthermore, it's not as if digital storefronts have proven at all unwilling to host emulators already, as they've been featured on mobile devices for years, and even Nesbox already lives on all of Microsoft's digital storefronts, save of course those of the Xbox platforms. Yes, this includes HoloLens, because of course it does. Even if it's far from unprecedented, however, there is still something undeniably compelling and indeed groundbreaking about the proposition of making Nesbox available specifically on the Xbox marketplace. Right now, the common thread is that the devices that have emulators available on their first-party storefronts are primarily comprised of smartphones, tablets, and set-top boxes, rather than gaming-dedicated or gaming-focused devices like consoles. If someone's main gaming device is a Samsung Galaxy S6, for example, chances are gaming isn't that big of a part of their life, and thus they aren't really likely to put an emulator through its paces. Put the same on an identified gaming platform, something that only a reasonably committed gamer is likely to own at current prices, and the implications change considerably. Microsoft, and even possibly Nintendo for that matter, may have no qualm serving up emulators for a middle-aged salaryman who just wants to play a little Dr. Mario while waiting for the bus, but have serious indigestion at the thought of doing the same for hardcore gamers who might hunt down comprehensive system ROM sets and make that emulation a consistent part of their gaming practice, made all the more enticing when offered up by an actual game system. In essence, it makes sense that their comfort level regarding emulators is inversely proportional to how thoroughly they'll be put to use. Get past that, and then you arrive at the ongoing backward compatibility issue. It's no secret that backward compatibility is important as we slip further and further into the moving parts era of game consoles, and hardware failure is one of the biggest threats to the longevity of our 5th and 6th generation libraries at this point. Emulation is coming along well on PCs, especially in the wake of some breakthrough Sega Saturn reverse engineering, but getting these emulators on a console would be a huge step toward achieving something that emulation has traditionally overlooked, which is, once again, the importance of playing on a TV with a game console. The PC does a good job for what it is, a spectacular job really, but that aspect shouldn't be ignored at any rate. The problem is that while backward compatibility has been acknowledged as important by each of the big three in different ways, there's a noticeable resistance to making it absolute. The cynic might be quick to point out that backward compatibility has mostly been preserved in 8th gen in ways that make it possible for companies to resell their games to the consumer, but Microsoft in particular has taken a consumer-friendly stance in grandfathering in all of a user's compatible Xbox Live purchases, as well as allowing them to use game disks to download the compatible images of Xbox 360 games. To that end, Nintendo is also very praiseworthy for following up on the Wii's policy of bringing its entire predecessor's library along for the ride with the Wii U. Still, it's quite evident that the big three are only interested in backward compatibility in ways that preserve absolute control over its delivery and content, and that's what may have done Nesbox in. A decision-making Microsoft executive may have looked at the bigger picture and realized that Super Mario Bros. 3 on the Xbox One today could very easily spell Halo 2 on the PlayStation 4 tomorrow, and just not had the stomach to pull the trigger in the end. This would speak to something of a mutual assured destruction mentality when it comes to emulation and backward compatibility within the industry. The strongest incentive for a company not to embrace it wholeheartedly is the threat of having it brought to bear against them. If that's what's actually going on, then this is going to be a very tough nut to crack. Wouldn't it be something, though, if the environment was eventually shaped in such a way that platform holders were effectively forced by necessity to host marketplaces for non-proprietary game ROMs and ISOs just to keep the back catalogs profitable? Of course, that's another video entirely. On an unrelated but similar note, you all know there's no way I can dance around Nintendo's recent antics, right? Nintendo has always been relatively hostile toward fan projects when compared to their peers, save perhaps for Square Enix, but never more so than recently as they gutted a pair of very popular fan titles in AM2R, or another Metroid 2 remake, and Pokemon Uranium. This was accompanied by what has to be an unprecedented spray of over 500 cease and desist orders aimed at projects hosted by GameJolt, rationalized by some Nintendo fans with the claim that proactive blanket protection of a company's IPs is essential to defending those IPs from infringement in the long haul. Of course, a little bit of digging online will show that isn't the case at all, and that Nintendo is only managing to burn bridges at a time when they really should be extending olive branches, if not outright pandering to anyone who might be receptive to them. Playing the role of good cop / voice of reason is Nintendo's competitor turned frequent partner, Sega, currently undergoing a rebuilding process of its own and subject to no shortage of tribute projects in their own right. As a matter of fact, it's a tribute project, Sega CD's masterfully developed Sonic Mega Mix that may count as the greatest Sonic game ever crafted, not to mention the foundation upon which the upcoming Sonic Mania is being built. Seriously, if you haven't played it, pause the video and go do so now. I will gladly wait. Sega recently gathered some much-deserved good press for their reaction to a more recent fan development, Green Hill Paradise Act 2, in which their official Sonic the Hedgehog YouTube account responded to a video of the project, simultaneously encouraging fan projects in general and taking a light swat in Nintendo's direction for their heavy-handed usage of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, or DMCA, against their own fans. Sega's common-sense approach to such works, which, from the development of Sonic Mania, may even include hiring their developers, follows a mindset that looks at fan games with the same view as other forms of fan art, and it's hard to imagine a healthier take on things than that. We can hope that Nintendo is paying attention and takes this as constructive criticism from a friend, but based on Nintendo's extensive track record in dealing with the matter, it may not be advisable to hold your breath. That's all for now. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and if you want to hear more commentary in the meantime, check out the Day Zero Update podcast every Sunday on your podcast aggregator of choice. I'll be back again soon.